Hey guys, happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. I have a few minutes. Let me open this up. I have a few minutes before I'm doing laundry right now. So, something was on my heart this morning, and it's not like I have like multiple streams of thought going into my brain this morning. I'm just like firing at all ends. I don't know what's going on, but I had a couple different thoughts going through my head this morning about healing and the way God delivers us sometimes that don't make sense. They don't make sense. Um, I can look back on my life and this morning I was actually reminded of a great healing that God had done in my life, and the way He did it was so mind-boggling to me. Uh, so when I thought about this, it was just like this word just kept coming to me, and so I want to kind of dive into it just for a few minutes because I think it might help somebody today. So so the thought was, the memory I was reminded of was, well, the thought I had was you can't heal in the place that's making you sick. You can't keep drawing from the same dirty cistern, the same dirty well, and expecting to get clean water out of it, right? And sometimes we stay in a situation because it's comfortable, because it's familiar, because it's all we know, it's what we desperately want. We want it to work, we want to make it work, we want to, you know what I mean? Just we hold on to things for too long because of hope. Sometimes false hope, a lot of times false hope. And so we don't ever we keep drinking from the same dirty taking in from the same dirty environment that's actually making us sick, actually preventing our growth, actually keeping us from the path that God has for us, and then wondering why we're staying stuck, and wondering why we're not getting healed, and wondering why nothing's ever changing, and wondering why we go around the same old mountain all the time, every year, same cycles, and nothing ever changes. And so that's kind of what I was thinking about this morning. And then you know how Facebook puts your memories up there, for you to see. Sorry, I'm looking for something. So this morning, a dream I had years and years ago, I had posted on Facebook, and at the time it didn't make sense. I mean, it literally didn't make sense to me, but like after it came to fruition, it was like, oh, that made total sense. And it was a very interesting dream. It was one of the 7 dreams I had before I went to California, and it was one of the 7 promises that God was making me. But I didn't understand at the time that um, I didn't understand what it meant. I just thought it was a really weird dream, and then after the fact, I was like, well, that exactly happened, you know. So I'll share the dream with you because it was interesting. So in the dream, I was in this house. I went into this house, and up the stairs, I could hear a little baby crying, or like a little girl crying. And I ran up the stairs and I opened the bedroom door, and she wasn't in the bedroom. And so I'll notice in the back corner of the bedroom there was a closet door. And so I opened the closet door, and there was like a washer and dryer set in the closet. And so when I opened it, she was in the washing machine, like standing up in the washing machine, but with the lid open. But you know how it was on the agitation cycle, so her little dress was caught in the little, the little thing that goes down in the middle, and like it has a little hook, so she couldn't get unstuck, and she's just like getting whipped around in the agitation cycle, and she's terrified for her life, right? And I scoop her up, I unhook her little clothes, get her out of there, and I sat down. There was a rocking chair right there, and I just rocked her, and I'm like, just look at me, you're okay, you're safe, you're safe, until she calmed down. And then it was all peaceful, and then she just had this look of safety, and then I woke up from my dream, and I was like, that is a bizarre bizarre dream. But 6 months later, like the Lord has a way of bringing these things to fruition. And so what had happened was He took me to California, and I told you I walked across LA with my cat and did all this hyper endurance stuff and believe in God for this big open door. And I get to Pastor Phil's house. And when I get there, it's just like my literal worst fear, which is probably living with a whole bunch of people, number one. Because I grew up in a big house with a big family and a bunch of people. And I don't like that. I don't like living with a bunch of people. And so my early childhood wounds were being like gouged open in this house because every part of it was uncomfortable for me, because ever since I've been an adult, I'm like, I can live alone in peace and quiet, and I don't have to live with a bunch of people. Like, I can have freedom, I can go where I want, do what I want, and have silence and all that stuff. But I got none of those things at his house. It was 24/7, people everywhere, in your bedroom, in the bathroom, and like in the kitchen, and wherever you go, there's a person breathing, and you're like, why? Like, so that's just one part of it. But then interacting with all the different personality types and all the stuff, and it's just like, oh my gosh, it was ripping me to pieces inside, and it was stirring up all these childhood things. And I remember, like, just so many days that I was there, that I would just have to be like, the logical part of my brain, the adult part of my brain, was telling that inner child part of my body that was scared, because when we're in childhood, we build up defense mechanisms and safety precautions in our nervous system to keep us safe. And so the whole time I'm there, I'm like, I kept having to tell myself, you're okay, you're safe, it's okay, you can endure this, we're gonna get through this. It was self-talk the whole way, right? And it was the dream, it was the older version of me holding the younger version of me, telling myself, you're okay, you're gonna be, you're safe, you're safe. Even though the environment was completely safe, it was just triggering things that had stirred up that I hadn't healed from as a child. And so it's very interesting how, you know, God will sometimes, to get us better, He will either pull us out of a situation completely, because I've been in situations like that where He's had to remove me out of those old cycles just to get distance, to get into a new frame of mind, and around a new group of people, thinking new thoughts, doing new things, and then sometimes he like, that's where he'll build us up, is in the solitude, or in the distance of the problem, and then bring us right back to the problem to address the actual problem, right? It's like we get the most healing in those confrontations, in those difficult situations. But sometimes he has to bring us away from the problem at hand, just to get clarity, just to get uh, some distance between it, just to get some healing, on us, so that when we go back into those difficult, challenging situations, there's healing there, there's closure there, there's peace there, there's like, it's not a fight or flight response, it's not a like a terror response, it's you can come at it and be like, no, I'm okay, I can tell myself I'm okay. And once you survive it, you're like, see, you didn't die, you're fine, you're good. And that's how you get the healing. It's so crazy. And so I was just thinking about that this morning, because I think a lot of times we're afraid to step out into, a new thing, or like just the initial part of the tearaway, right? Of like, okay, well, this situation is really toxic. I need to get out of it, right? But I'm so afraid to leave it, right? Because I'm afraid, what if it never gets resolved, or what, I never get healing, I'm just running away. And we can have that mindset of like, maybe I'm just running away from my problems or something. But really, what if it's God just trying to remove you from the toxicity so you can get some healing, so that when you come back and face it, that's how you'll get the healing. It's a long process sometimes with healing. And I think we want instant gratification. We want what we want when we want it right now. And sometimes healing doesn't come for years, and decades even. And but when it comes, like, it's solid, it's secure, it's not flimsy, it's not flaky, it's like the real deal. You're truly delivered, you're truly set free. But sometimes those inner deep pains, especially things, childhood triggers, that you don't even know that you're doing these things. Like, it's not cognizant, it's not like something that you actually know, I'm self-protecting right now. It's just things that we develop to cope, to get through life, because life is hard and scary, and people hurt us, and we hurt people, and that's, the world is full of pain. And so a lot of times we're just acting out of self-preservation, or self-protection. But God has to sometimes just remove us from a situation, get us out of the toxic environment, get us clarity, get us a new way of thinking, get us a new outlook on life. And then when we start building ourselves up on our own, and with Him, and building that relationship with Him, then a lot of times, this has happened so many times, that was just one example, but so many times where He's had to put me back in a uncomfortable situation to face the very thing that I was so afraid of, so that I could get the most healing out of it, right? And it's like, it's not that He wants us to avoid those situations forever. He just needs distance and time to get us to the place where we can actually face it. Because until you face what you're afraid of, until you conquer your fears, until you actually go to the hard places of your soul, and like challenges and things that upset you, and things that you're constantly trying to protect yourself from and run away from, and face those things. They will always have power over you. And so that's just what I was thinking about today. Sometimes we want to rush and go ahead and conquer our fears and conquer our challenges and stuff, but without the separation and having the self healing in the inner work first. But we need that inner work with God to go back and face the actual things that scare us, that make us act the way we do, act out and stuff. And it's not that God wants us to run from problems or bad situations, or our issues or whatever, but sometimes we need that distance. And then he wants us to come back and kill those giants and face those demons and slay those dragons. You know what I mean? He wants us to be overcomers, but there's a process in becoming an overcomer that is takes time, and sometimes distance, and sometimes a new frame of mind, and a new friendship group, and a new way of life, and new choices, and all these new things that are scary, because we get so used to our routine, and our comfort zone, and the familiarity, and the but man, I've lived that life a long time, of like just making the same stupid choices over and over again, thinking I'm going to get a different result. That's literally the definition of insanity. I remember when I was on heroin. I was the heroin, when you don't have it, you get dope sick, right? And so but the answer to the dope sickness is more heroin. But it's literally the heroin that's making you sick. It's like, but I need heroin so I don't get sick. And it's this insanity loop that you're just on over and over and over again. And so as long as you have money, you don't have to be sick. And so you just need to get more money. That's the solution to all your problems. And but it's like this toxicity thing. The only way to get out of the loop is to get off the heroin. Right? So you got to get off the heroin, and then you got to realize, oh, heroin wasn't my problem. It was all the problems I was trying to mask with heroin. Now I got to work on these things, right? And then you work on those things, and then so you're constantly like improving yourself, but you got to get out of the loop first. There's a loop there that you have to break. And so anyway, I don't know if that helps anybody today, but it's about creating new neural pathways in your brain, getting new hobbies, getting new friends, getting new like Chief always says, like who you surround yourself with, whoever has your attention, that's your destiny. Like that's what's gonna that's where you're going. The path you have in your life is who you surround yourself with, and the kind of people that you look up to, and things like that. So it's never too late to do something new with your life, and to like make better choices. While we still have breath in our lungs, there's another path. And I was thinking about it personally, just because like the environment that's making me sick is this car, and I'm like, yeah, I can't stay in this car anymore because it's making me sick. It's literally making me sick staying in here. And so I was like, I gotta do whatever I gotta do to get out of this car. That's my number one goal right now. And so whatever that looks like, we're just not going to stay in this car anymore. It served its purpose. It was necessary. The cocoon was necessary for a season. We've outgrown that. I need out. I'm going to die if I stay in here. So, but yeah, I was just thinking about it on a broader level this morning. I hope that helps somebody. If you guys have any questions or comments, in the chat box below. I don't know what's going on. I got a bunch of stuff to do in Manhattan tomorrow, so I gotta get my day right today so I can go do all my errands tomorrow. But yeah, man, God is so faithful to us. Like I was just thinking, like the longevity that He's taken me on this long wild ride for healing. And it's not over, you know what I mean? Like we still have more. There's always more. There's still more, and like I just look at how patient He is with us, to walk us through and to carry us every step of the way, and to lead us and guide us if we trust in Him. And we can only submit ourselves and surrender ourselves to some God that we fully trust, right? And this whole process with Him has been this long journey of more and more trust. Lord, I see what you did here. I'm going to trust you for this bigger thing. I see that you haven't let me down yet. I'm going to trust you with even more. And you're constantly surrendering more and more of yourself to Him, and more of your heart to Him. And He's constantly not letting you down, and He's constantly being faithful, and He's constantly healing you even more, and and giving you more insight and more love. And I feel like this love with God that I have never felt in my entire life at this point in my life, and it's like I can remember back to trials, like even in California when I was walking, and I had walked for almost 100 days, and by the end of it I was dead tired. I mean, my I was days without sleep and sleep deprived and exhaustion and just weariness in my soul and thinking like, oh my gosh. And I remember right at the end, the last like week and a half, or 2 weeks really, it was like one thing after another was happening. And it was like, oh, I don't know if I can take one more step. And I remember the night before, like I just crumbled, and I was like, God, I can't take one more step. And it was probably my first breakdown the whole time, like real breakdown. And I don't, it takes a lot for me to break down. But man, that night I'm in the park crying on my hands and knees. It was a full come to Jesus, help me moment. And within hours he opened the door. Within hours of that prayer, he opened the door for me on the exact day he said he would do it. And so so I just think now at that moment I was so scared though, because of all these, I remember all the bad stuff that was happening. I had this like fear in me. And then lately it's been the same thing. It's been one thing after another. Like now, like last week I'm in the hospital. It was like the week before it was, surgery and illnesses, and then grief and my friend dying, and closure, and all this emotional stuff is like one thing after another. But through this, I haven't had one bit of fear of like God's not going to come through, or this is all going to end in disaster like I did before, because that trial got me to the place of this trial, which this trial, it's like, oh, yeah, it's just one more bad thing. That just means we're getting closer. Okay, we're another step, another day closer to whatever God has. And the more the stuff happens, the more peace I have. Instead of fear, I have peace. And so anyway, God has an amazing way of leading and guiding us and building up our faith in Him through surrender and through trust. It's our job to surrender. It's His job to prove Himself trustworthy, right? And that's what He does to us over and over again. And so He is constantly faithful. He is our faithful friend. And so as long as He remains faithful, we can surrender more and more and more of ourselves to Him. And that's where we get the peace. That's where the peace comes from. And so anyway, I hope this helps you guys. I love you. I don't let's see, Wednesday today. Yeah, Wednesday. I hope you guys have a great rest of the week. I will talk to you in a few days. I love you. Have a great week. Bye.